What's up, guys? It's Tearless here. Welcome back to the Guild Wars 2 Path of Fire demo, or open beta, whatever you would like to call it. During this weekend of the 18th through the 20th of August, we are allowed to beta test the elite specializations that are coming to all of the classes in Path of Fire. And in this video, I would like to look at the elite specialization for the engineer, known as the Holosmith. Now, I have to admit, this is one of the elite specializations that I am a little bit more excited for, and that's because a lot of the abilities and traits that an engineer had when Guild Wars 2 launched have been stripped away bit by bit, and it's kind of brought down my engineer. But even so, engineer is still one of my most played characters, and I'm really looking forward to what the Holosmith will bring. So let's go ahead and look straight into the talent tree and see what we can get with the Holosmith. So here you can see at the bottom here, this is the Holosmith in the Elite Specialization section. And you gain sword proficiency, so the extra weapon that you're getting is a sword. That sword is for your main hand. As you can see, you can wield a sword in your main hand. So only 3 new abilities. You can see them down here, and we will take a look at them when we get down to the training dummies. And then this first ability here explains basically everything else. Photon Projector. Photon Forge replaces your Elite Tool Belt skill. Gain access to Exceed skills. So your Elite skill used to be right here. And as you can see, I can change this no matter what, and that does not change. So your Elite skill is always going to be this new one, which is known as the Photon Forge. And that is basically what everything revolves around with this new Holosmith, and it's really cool. You'll really like it. Exceed skills are something that's, I believe, new. I don't think any class has Exceed skills. So it is, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe it is a brand new thing brought to the Holosmith. So that'll be really cool to look at, and we will go through that. So first we're going to go through the tree, then we will go through the utility skills and their tool belt pairings, I guess you could say, and then we'll jump down and take a look at the rest, especially the Photon Forge, which is actually kind of like its own little kit. So you already know the first ability, and it deals with the Photon Forge, and it basically puts you into a different kit. And I'm just going to show you real quick just what it is, just so you understand. Basically, you turn into this blazing, I don't even know, this projection of light, and you start to slowly overheat. That's what this bar is down here, is your heat bar, and you'll slowly start to overheat. It's 2% per second, and so you'll gain 2%, 2%, 2% until you reach 100%, and then you overheat and you take damage from it. So that's the basis of it, and you get access to all these new kit spells, and it makes you more powerful. As you can see, I hit the 50% threshold, or the 50 heat threshold, and I change to a different color, and as soon as I max out, when I get to the end here, it will overheat, and it kind of warns you right here when you start to get towards the end with this lovely little icon that you should be deactivating the Photon Forge, and if you don't, you will revert back, and then you will take initial burst of damage and then dot fire damage afterwards, and then you'll begin cooling off. So that is what the Photon Forge brings. So quickly, let's head back into the talent tree so we can take a look at everything here. So you know the first ability, which is the Photon Projector, which gives you Photon Forge and takes away your Elite Tool Belt skill. And so now we move into the first tree here. This first one here is Light Density Amplifier. Photon Forge reduces incoming damage but has increased passive heat generation. So bonus heat per second is 1%, but you have 15% damage reduction. So you're getting, you'll be generating heat at 3% every second instead of 2%, but you get 15% flat damage reduction. Second ability here is Prismatic Converter. Deactivate Photon Forge, converts conditions into boons based on your heat level. So the heat level basically is below 50 and above 50. Those are the 2 heat levels. That'll change when we look at the last talents, but basically get the idea. If you're below, condition to boons will be 1. If you're above, it'll be 2 conditions will be changed into boons if you deactivate it. And basically, just so you understand, I'm going to activate it right here. You can deactivate it at any time once goes through the delay. So there you can see right there. And then after a little bit of time, you'll begin to cool back down and your heat will drop. This third ability here is Solar Focusing Lens. Your first few attacks after entering Photon Forge inflict burning. This bonus is also granted if you overheat. So, whether you have just entered the Photon Forge or whether you have gone so far that you overheated, you still get the Solar Focusing Lens. I believe it is 2 attacks, as it mentions there, if you just deactivate it. If you overheat yourself, it's 5. The next 5 attacks will set the target on fire. Moving into the second ability, we have Heat Therapy. You gain health per unit of heat lost. This trait does not function while cooling due to an overheat. So basically, so long as you do not overheat and you deactivate your Photon Forge early, you will gain basically health comparable to the amount of heat that you are cooling off of. So if you are at 70%, basically heal per unit of heat, that's 70 ticks of 65 healing. The second tree right here, we have Crystal Configuration Storm. Photon Forge Skill 1 now fires explosive projectiles but generates extra heat. So the heat gain will be 1%. I believe the original version is going to be it costs 2% heat. We'll go ahead and engage it right here just so we can see. It should be, yes, it's heat gain 2%, so that'll be 3% now for how much it will actually do. Moving through the 3 different information, they're just talking about the 3 different cycles you have: Flash Cutter, Bright Slash, and Light Strike, which we will be looking at when we actually engage the Photon Forge down at the training dummies. So that is what is in reference to. So basically, heat gain across the board for all 3 of those abilities. The second here, just wanted to clarify, the trade-off is you'll be causing extra heat, however, you're kind of doing a burst explosion damage. So you're able to hit more targets. And the range is 600, which is pretty nice. Range damage, radius of 180, range of 600, number of targets 5. So that's pretty good. The second ability here is Crystal Configuration Eclipse. Corona Burst grants stability on each attack and creates a barrier for each target struck. Corona Burst is, I believe, I gotta find it here before I go any further, or else I will confuse you guys completely. There it is. It is the third ability of your Holomancer. So when we get to that, I will go back to this so you understand what exactly we were talking about, but it grants stability on each attack and creates a barrier for each target struck. The third ability is Crystal Configuration Zephyr. Hollow Leap removes movement impairing conditions and grants super speed instead of swiftness. So once again, that's going to be through here. It's going to be your second ability, and we will look at that once we get down to the talent tree. So basically, all 3 of these abilities in the second tree deal with abilities that you would have inside of your Photon Forge. The third ability here is Laser's Edge. While Photon Forge is active and you are above the heat threshold, your outgoing damage is increased. So the heat threshold is 50% and damage increase is 15%. When we get to the third tier talents, which we're getting to right in this second, this is going to get a little confusing, and I'll try and clear this up for you as best I can. So the first of these last 3 talents is going to be the Thermal Release Valve. Dodge rolling vents heat as an attack against nearby foes. Attack will not occur without heat, so you got to have heat generated for it to actually happen. And you will lose 15%. So it's kind of a way to exhaust your heat and keep you in the Holomancer stance as long as possible. So think of builds in which you can keep your endurance and vigor up as much as possible, and then use dodge rolling to keep yourself inside the Holomancer stance, the Holosmith Photon Forge stance as much as possible. So there's an idea. The second one is Enhanced Capacity Storage Unit. Increased maximum heat capacity. While above 100% heat, periodically gain might. Some skills and traits gain additional heat tiers. So this is where things get a little confusing. They talk about heat as a percentage in the talents. However, when they talk about it here, it's just 0 to 100. When I switch to this talent, it switches from 0 to 150. And these are the three tiers. You have the 50 and the 100 tier, and then everything above it. The only abilities that I have seen that are affected by the getting an extra tier are going to be your main abilities from your blade, which we will go over when we actually get to that. But otherwise, all of the other abilities only have something once you have passed that 50 mark. It still says it changes in some cases to heat threshold 50 instead of heat threshold 50%, but it is a little confusing how in a lot of places it mentions it's only 50%, or the heat threshold is 50%, and then when you actually engage the talent, it becomes just 50 or 100. So I hope that's not confusing to you. In no way is 75 heat a threshold for anything. I have not noticed that in any of my playtime with the Holomancer here. So, the third ability here is Photonic Blasting Module. Overheating now blasts damage to nearby foes and no longer deals its initial damage to you. Heat cannot be lost except after you've overheated. Gain heat therapy and Laser's Edge after overheating. Laser's Edge is 15% damage, and heat therapy, if you remember, here's Laser's Edge, and Laser's Edge is given after you go over the heat threshold of 50. Laser's Edge, and then heat therapy is the heal that you have. Now, normally the heal does not happen when you're cooling because of overheat, but this talent changes that. And the threshold, I believe, is brought all the way down to 0. So you'll keep Laser's Edge until you've gone all the way back down to 0 on your heat threshold. So there's a lot of possibilities here, and it's really kind of a playstyle thing between these three talents, which I really do like. This is one of the few talent tiers, I think, in my opinion, in all of the new stuff that's come with the expansion, in which the talent tiers really have kind of some variation there. So, with that, let's go ahead and start to take a look at the utility skills, the Exceed skills for a Holomancer. The first one here is called Coolant Blast. Heal yourself and chill nearby foes. If you are above the heat threshold, which would be 50, when this skill is activated, gain Frost Aura and continue healing for the duration. So I'm going to just use it here so you can see it. And that's what it looks like. And you would gain a Frost Aura if you were above 50% heat. So, to kind of give an example here, maybe I can get this to work out the way I'd like it to. So we're going to go back to this. We're going to go to the Holomancer form, and you're going to get a little display of some of the abilities here. We are above the 50% form, okay? So, as mentioned before, you do not lose heat. So that means that all of your abilities are now functioning at their level 2 tier. So that is just something that you should take note of. So, now we should be able to get Frost Aura after using this heal. There, you can see the Frost Aura right there. So these are the capabilities of the playstyle changes that you're getting with the other one. For the duration of looking at these talents, I'll go ahead and keep us in this form just so that we can see what is going on here. So, this next one is called Launch Wall. It's called Photon Wall. A defensive barrier appears in front of you that blocks you and your allies from incoming attacks. Reactivate the Exceed to fire the barrier at foes as an attack. This skill grants projectile reflection if you are above the heat threshold. So we're above the heat threshold, so it's going to reflect missiles instead of just block. And then the Launch Wall, as you can see here, launch your photon wall forward, causing the wall to explode when it strikes a foe, inflicting conditions on nearby enemies. When fired above the heat threshold, launch additional walls. So, as you can see here, there's the wall. Oh, it disappeared too quickly before I could launch it. Ha! Excuse me. We will have to test that in a second when it comes back up. So we'll move on to the next one for time's sake, and then I'll come back to that so you can see it. Spectrum Shield. Break stun effects and create a holographic shell that reduces incoming damage. This skill recharges faster while above the heat threshold. We're above it, so its recharge is reduced by 50%, which is really nice. So let's go ahead and use it now. And there's the nice shield you have, which is really nice. And it recharges pretty quickly because we're out of it. We have Hard Light Arena. In fact, for these next few, I'm going to begin to jump down here so we have a little bit more space to take a view of what's going on here. So we have Hard Light Arena. Create a holographic arena that grants you boons while inside of it. When activated above the heat threshold, the radius and duration are increased. So the duration is increased by 4 seconds, and the radius is increased by 120 if we are above 50, which we are. So we'll go ahead and use it here. There is the arena, and we have the boons right here. Because we're in this arena, it's really cool. Really cool looking. And it lasts for quite a long time because of the increased abilities due to us being over the heat threshold, so that's really nice. The last ability here, the Prime Light Beam. This is your ultimate ability. Charge up and fire an explosive beam of light in front of you. When activated above the heat threshold, this attack leaves a burning holographic field. So we're going to go ahead and use this here down here against these mobs and just see what it does. So I'm going to go ahead and use it right now. And there you go. It is a massive blast that leaves this projectile field here. That is awesome. I mean, it lasts for so long, it's already hitting the next target that comes up. You even get to see some of the basic attacks for the next ability there, which is pretty awesome. It is a long cooldown. It is a 60 second cooldown, so it does take a while for it to come back up. But it is one of the longer cooldowns. And I must have gotten into combat with something, so I'm going to run away so I can quickly try and get out of combat so that we can, there we go. We can test out the other stuff. So here we have launch walls. I'm going to go ahead and launch it this time right away so we can see what it does. There's the wall, and there's the launching of the wall. As you see, it's 3 separate walls in 3 separate directions. Not sure if I really like that it goes in separate directions. I would rather it be more 3 in the same direction so you can deal more damage on like a singular target, but that's not the case of the ability. So before we head into the 4th ability, which I have not looked at, let's look at the Spectrum Shield's special ability before we move into the 4th utility skill. So its special ability, or tool belt skill, is known as Flash Spark. Release a blinding burst of light from your holographic emitter while above the heat threshold. Gain light aura. So we'll go ahead and use it here. There is the flash of light with the blindness, and then there is your light aura. That's pretty nice. So with that, let's go ahead and move to the last Exceed ability, which is Laser Disc. Create rotating laser blades to damage nearby foes. This skill has increased duration when activated while above the heat threshold. So, increased duration while above the heat threshold. Let's go ahead and see what this can do. Let's use this target right here. So there we go, right there. There are the laser blades around us, and it actually follows you around. So that's actually really cool. And that actually lasts for a very decent amount of time, considering basically I only have to be above the heat threshold for that to work. So that's pretty cool. So with that, we've now seen all of these abilities. Let's go ahead and look at the utility skills that we missed. First is Cauterize. Use a laser to burn off conditions and set yourself on fire for each condition removed. Removes additional conditions if above the heat threshold. So you burn yourself, but you remove a lot of conditions. You can remove additional conditions if you're above the heat threshold. So we'll go ahead and use this right here just so you can see it. I don't have any conditions on me, so I didn't really burn. But that is the ability for dealing with Coolant Blast. Particle Accelerator. Fire a crippling bolt of light at your target. Allies the bolt passes through are granted swiftness. Projectile velocity increased while above the heat threshold. So it cripples other targets. It gives swiftness to everyone else. So we'll go ahead and use it. As you can see right there, I got the swiftness on myself, but I didn't have a target located, so I believe it did not function the way I thought it would. Let's see if I can get swiftness on that target. There we go. You saw it through, and it gave it swiftness to our target right there, which is pretty nice. The third ability here that ties to Laser Disc is going to be Blade Burst. Fire holographic blades at foes within range. Damage increased while over the heat threshold. So, as you can see, there's a lot of damage increases while being above just this 50 threshold. So, there's, once again, going back to that final little talent tier, there's a lot of play going back and forth between the two tiers, which is really nice. So when this recharges, we'll use it again once again on a target so we can see it again. The last ability here, which ties with the Hard Light Arena, is going to be Prismatic Singularity. Collapse a ring of holograms to pull foes into a single point. The ring explodes when it fully collapses. Radius and pull distance increased well above the heat threshold. Let's go ahead and use it right here. Right there, and you can see that kind of that pull towards the center, which is pretty cool. And then we'll use Blade Burst right here so you can see what it does, and it basically targeted a lot. So, and then we have our blades beneath us here, so really cool abilities that come with the Holomancer here. Interesting. I'm not really sure how it's going to work because, as I said, there's so many different variations in which you can use this, and we haven't even gotten to the Photon Forge kit yet. So that is dealing with all the utilities and the utility skills. So let's go ahead and start looking at the Photon Forge. I'm probably going to overheat several times looking through this, so we'll just have to bear with it. And remember that when I overheat with this specific talent, it will go ahead and it will spare me some of the damage that I normally get, and I will get some healing back. So let's go ahead and start testing this out. So the first ability here is known as Flash Cutter, Bright Slash, and Light Strike. I almost pronounced those all incorrectly, so that's why I was kind of stuttering there. Basically, it's a cleave attack right there, and it's really cool. The last ability is a major cleave, which is really nice. So as you can see right there, I actually did overheat. I exploded, and I only took dot damage. I did not take the initial damage, and I cooled down, and I was given heat therapy when normally I shouldn't have, and I have Laser's Edge all the way down until I reach the bottom of the heat. My heat reaches 0. So that is what comes with this talent. So I'm going to go ahead and engage Photon Forge again so you can see. Once again, we're in combat with stuff because a lot of stuff happened out here. So the first is just a basic attack, 5 targets. Second is a basic attack, 5 targets. The third is cleave through all foes in front of you twice, dealing more damage and also more cleave damage. So it's a lot of cleaving, which is pretty nice. Your second ability is Holo Leap. Create a holographic launch pad and leap to your foe. Pad remains behind for a short duration, granting increased movement speed to allies who touch it. That's pretty nice. So we'll go ahead and use it here. It is a short distance. As you saw there, I didn't get to go very far. So, oh, I just overheated there. So we got to go ahead and wait until we cool down again before we can reactivate things. Luckily, it goes pretty quickly. So this is going to be a very valuable strategy, I believe, for a lot of people. So, activate Photon Forge again. Let's go ahead and use the jump. And there it is again, so you can see what it looks like. The third ability here is Corona Burst. Strike nearby foes and begin to store up energy, gaining boons and heat each pulse. After charging, the energy explodes, inflicting conditions on nearby foes. So, let's go ahead and use it right here. And I built up the heat right there and the explosion right there as well. It's pretty nice. The fourth ability here is Photon Blitz. Fire multiple piercing blasts at your target. This is pretty much straight damage with burning tied in. So I'm going to go ahead and use this right as I'm dropping out of heat form. I'm going to explode right here. Basically, it's very much like dual pistols with a thief or a Mesmer's Mirage. I keep thinking Mirage because that's the elite specialization one of their illusions is able to do the pistol burst as well. So that's very much what it is like. So let's go ahead and switch back into this again so I can show you one more time. As you can see right there, plenty of damage. It does do 2%. It says 2% heat gain. That's for each attack. So we're talking 16% heat gained right there because it's 8 hits. The last ability is called Holographic Shockwave. Create a deadly holographic shockwave that launches foes upward. This attack always deals a critical hit. It's a lot of damage. Heat gain 25%, 100% critical hit chance. This is going to immediately overheat me because I'm already so high, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. As you can see there, I hit everyone. And then I explode. So that's pretty cool. I really do like the holographic, the photon kit. Basically, it's just something that's a little bit different. And you're a big ball of light going around killing people, and I really do enjoy it. So with that, I need to kill these off so we can read the what is going on with these abilities right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm actually gonna use this because the other one tends to do an AoE at the end that causes problems. So let's get out of combat here, and then we will look at the 3 sword abilities that are coming with basically the Holosmith kit. So the first is going to be your first ability is Sun Edge, strike your foe and inflict vulnerability. Then you have strike your foe again and inflict vulnerability with Sun Ripper. And then your last one is Gleam Saber. Unleash a burst of stored energy with your sword and recharge your other sword skills. This attack gains additional crit hit chance based on your heat level. So, as you can see, it's a small radius, number of targets, but it does have that burst. So we'll go ahead and use it right here so you can see the 3-shot burst here. And there's the 3rd shot burst right there. The second ability here is Refraction Cutter. Strike at foes in front of you and launch a blade of light at your target. Launch extra blades based on your heat level. I just realized that my heat level had dropped below. Let me go ahead and bring it back up to above 50%. Now, these 3 sword abilities are the only ones that benefit from the talent in which your heat level goes up to 150, and it basically just increases all of these abilities just a little bit more. I will cycle through them one more time when we look at it at the very end. So let's go ahead and look at this ability. As you can see there, there's the launch of the Refraction Color. Kind of underwhelming, to be honest. The sword abilities are not something I'm super excited about with this with the Holosmith. The last ability here that you're getting is Radiant Arc. Leap to your target and create an arc of light that strikes nearby foes. Gain quickness based on your heat level. So 2 seconds of quickness below 50% heat. Quickness at over 50% heat is 4 seconds. And we'll go ahead and use it right here. And there's your leap. Now, just so you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch talents here if I can get out of combat really quickly, so I can show you the difference between the two, the verbiage between the two. There we go. All right, let me switch talents real quick. Switch to the middle one here. I now have 3 stacks. As you can see, they now have all critical hit above 50% hit, critical hit above 100% hit. They use the percentages still, but it's really weird and awkward because it says heat 0 and 150. So, basically, critical hit bonuses is increased to 50% for all of the strikes on your one ability. In the second one, you get additional blades over 100% heat to 4 instead of 2. And then lastly, on the third one, your quickness is 6 seconds as opposed to 2 and 4 before. So that is the difference between the two. All of the other abilities, whether it be the toolkit abilities, Holomancer abilities, or the utility skills, those all basically stay the same no matter what. It's only over that 50% threshold and not the, or the 50 threshold and not the, it's not like 75 or anything like that. So, that was a lot, I know. I apologize for the video taking so long. Very much like the Guardian, there's a lot to go over with the Holomancer because it has its own kit in addition to its 3 abilities. It has its own kit, and then it has the extra um, 4 tool belt skills on top of that, which basically means that instead of dealing with, just a couple of new abilities like several others, we're dealing with an extra 8 to 9, and all of the differences between them. So thank you for bearing with me through going through all of the Holomancer's kit. It is really cool. I know I've called it a Holomancer several times, and it's actually a Holosmith, so I apologize for that. The Holosmith is a lot of fun, and it's going to be real interesting to see which of those 3 talents is going to be the popular one to use. Whether you're using the one to try and stay inside your Holosmith form as much as possible, or you're basically just trying to power up your utility skills and stay above that 50% threshold as long as possible, or using this one where you actually have 3 charges. You can go up to 150 and have a little bit more leeway. I have a feeling that this one is going to be kind of a balance between the two, and we'll see how it all works out. So that's everything with the Holosmith. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I apologize for it taking so long. Otherwise, I hope to see you guys in the next video. Tearless out. See ya.